Hi, this is Theo from PocketBlocks.com. Today I'm going to show you the sketchbook that I brought to Bali and also the sketches that I drew there. This is actually a watercolor sketchbook that I commissioned the Society of Physical Disabled in Singapore to make. So they provide bookbinding services and I passed them some Arches hot press paper and they managed to bind it into a sketch like this. It's very beautiful, the cover is very sturdy, the binding is very good, and the paper, the Arches hot press paper is excellent. So this is actually one of the many sketchbooks that I have commissioned them to make. This one is Arches hot press. I have one that features Fabriano Artistico cold press paper. And SPD, they also make their own sketchbook, but it's a much smaller size. So if you want to get a larger sketchbook, you just have to pass them the appropriate size paper. It's a bit more expensive, much more expensive compared to other watercolor sketchbook out there, but I think the quality speaks for itself. First thing, you get to choose whatever watercolor paper that goes inside. And secondly, well, you're doing a good form of charity by giving these people some jobs. So this is the first sketch that I drew on the first day in Bali. This is of the place that we stayed at, a villa. It's called Lokasari Bungalows. So there are actually several buildings inside. We were staying in this particular villa here. There were 2 bedrooms inside and we paid about Singapore dollars $80. So it's shared by 4 people, so each person came out to only $20. And this place is actually quite huge. The gardens are very beautiful. And the sky, the sunlight on that day, I can still remember it. It's very beautiful. I actually brought along 3 sets of watercolors to use for this Bali sketching trip. So for the first day, I used Van Gogh watercolor because I wanted to review all the 3 sets. So this sketch here is actually colored with Van Gogh watercolor. On the second day, I used White Nights that is made by St. Petersburg from Russia. And on the last day, the third day, I used Gansai Tambi, which is the Japanese watercolor. So later on, you might see some color differences as I flip over the pages. So this is Van Gogh watercolor. Very lovely blues. I think they use cobalt blue and ultramarine, so there's some granulation here, and also I love the shade of the blue. For the orange, I think I just used orange mixed with a bit of red. This is also from Lokasari Bungalows, but this was colored on the second day, so this was painted with White Nights watercolor. This was from the first day. This is the car that we rented. We paid about $20 to $25 a day, including petrol. So on the first day, we drove up to Mount Batu. Mount Batu is a volcano, and there were some villages, some houses at the lake beneath. We were drawing from the volcano rim just right up there at the Kintamani region. So we were looking down, drawing the lake that's here, and there were some clouds covering the volcano. And this is where I want to point out the white from Van Gogh. I'm not sure what white this is. The code number is G108. Anyway, I finished sketching and then I applied the white over the mountains just to create the clouds. And I did not realize back then, but now that I look at it, there were a lot of bubbles in the clouds. So now you can see all these little bubble things coming out. Let me zoom in closer for you to take a look. You see these little dots here? All these are actually bubbles. And this only happens with the white color that came with Van Gogh. This is also a big bubble that got burst. So you get all these very textural things, which is, on hindsight, something that I don't really like because, well, you don't see bubbles in clouds. So this is something I did not know. So we drew one piece at the top and then we drove down to the lake and drew another piece. This is not very clear, but there are actually some boats here, and this is the lake and that's the jetty. And this is the mountain, the volcano, one of the hills of the volcano. This is also drawn on the first day where we had our lunch after visiting the volcano. This is Rice Terrace Cafe. Again, I use Van Gogh watercolor. In this case, I control the color much better compared to this particular piece because when you look at a piece like this from afar, it's not very clear what the subjects are because the values are not. I mean, this part is just too dark. I should make the boats a bit lighter. So this is slightly better. At least now I can tell there's the green here, there are some houses here, and there are some steps here. Overall, I enjoy using Van Gogh watercolor. They are really quite good watercolor, even though they are supposed to be student grade, but they are also much more expensive compared to student grade like Winsor Newton Cotman. This is on the second day. So on the second day I used White Nights, and oh, by the way, I'm using the pocket brush from Rosemary. So White Nights watercolor is very affordable and the colors are very intense. They mix very well. This was drawn at Goa Gajah, one of the temples there, where they feature a stone face that is carved onto the side of some rocks. So for some of the temples that are higher up in the mountain, the hilly areas, there are fountains like water ponds, and in this case Goa Gajah actually has 2 ponds here. So there are big fishes inside the pond. This was colored with White Nights as well. This is the last sketch of the day. I colored with White Nights. So White Nights have some colors that are not transparent. That would be cadmium lemon and cadmium orange or cadmium yellow and the cadmium red. So I use that to color this orange part here, and the line art is covered by the watercolor. But for the gray tones like ultramarine plus the brown mixtures, they are alright, they are transparent. And this was colored on the last day, the third day, with Gansai Tambi. This set here. If you compare this sketch with this sketch, I think you can tell straight away that the colors here are more pastel-like. And this is so for the next few sketches as well. So Gansai Tambi, to me, the colors are more pastel-like. So if you want intense colors, especially when mixed Gansai Tambi, the colors are a bit more subdued. So this is something to take note of when you're using the Japanese watercolor for pen and ink sketches like this. This was drawn at Made Becik Warung, a cafe in Ubud that serves very nice food. You can check out my other videos of the travel sketching series, then you can find out how exactly this cafe looks like. This was drawn at the other volcano, Mount Baratan. So this temple is called Pura Ulun Danu Baratan. There are some temple on the lake itself. I think I have some, accident here, so now the sky is a bit damaged. Also, it's a bit dirty down here. I think the ink did not dry properly. And this is one of the last sketch. This was drawn at Cafe Lotus with Gansai Tambi as well. I actually quite like how this came out Even though the colors are a bit more pastel-like, I still like the look. But some of the colors, some of the pen lines here are actually covered over by the green colors, which are not transparent. This was dinner at this place called Dirty Duck Diner, Bebek Bangui. This was drawn at night, so I colored it with only black from the Gansai Tambi tablet, and I left some space here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. This was drawn on the final day before we bought the flight back to Singapore. We have no time to color it, so I'm just going to leave this as it is. This was at the Bali airport, painted with Van Gogh watercolor. And these are the things that I brought to Bali. I've created a separate video for this. You may have already watched that, so I'm not going to talk too much about all these items, but these are the 3 watercolor sets and the pen. Oh, by the way, the pen that I use for all of these sketches is the Sailor Zoom Knit. The Sailor Zoom Knit is a pen that you can vary the line thickness depending on how you hold the pen. So I use that particular pen for all the sketches during this trip. So there are still a few more pages to go, but I will leave them empty until if I go back to Bali, then I will try to fill them up, but I'm just going to leave them empty for now. So I managed to fill up about, I would say, I'm not sure, more than half the sketchbook. There are only 40 pages, so it's not too difficult, especially if you draw on double pages. So each day I drew about 3 sketches. So if you drew double pages, each day you can draw about 6 pages, 3 spreads of 6 pages. That's all for the Bali sketchbook tour. I'll post a link to the scanned images so that you can check out all the sketches in higher clarity and detail, just in case the camera in front of me isn't able to capture the correct color. I will also post a link to another Bali sketchbook because I have been to Bali 3 times, and all 3 times I used 3 different sketchbooks, so you can check out the earlier sketches as well as the sketches from this book. That's all for today's video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so for more sketching tips, techniques, and sketching videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.